Coming to you from the Texoma area, I am your host, Garrett.
I'm your host, Cody.
And we are the
Bourbon Nerds.
Hey, guys, how's it going today? All you beautiful people. Hey, Cody, how are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal because you know why I'm doing phenomenal?
Why?
Because we are going to talk about two amazing bourbons. I've been so looking forward to this episode. Since we started, kind of planning out what we're going to do. This was one that was really near and dear to my heart. Weller, those were products that were near and dear. Kind of when I started, I talked about my journey a little bit in episode 1. Weller was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Weller! Can you find it?" People around the United States couldn't find Special Reserve, and it's like we had truckloads of it here, in the Oklahoma, Texas area. So, yeah, this is going to be a phenomenal episode. I hope you are buckled up, you are ready, and we are going to drop some value. We're going to drop some knowledge. And we're going to have a good time. So welcome back.
Yeah, I think a year ago, actually, you said, Weller 12 you thought was your favorite bourbon. And I don't think we're, it's crazy how a year makes a difference. I don't think we're quite on that level anymore.
No, yeah, Weller 12 used to be. It's so light. To me, it's like almost like a honeysuckle. It's smooth. It's just well balanced. And yeah, it's not my favorite. I can clearly say that. Today, but yeah, it's come a long way. It's still a really good bourbon if you can find one and don't pay thousands of dollars for it. No, not really. I've seen it for anywhere from $150 to $200. I don't know. People jack that price up. Please, liquor stores, stop jacking the prices up of bourbon. Like that stuff is kind of getting out of control. Number one, and number two, the prices have come down. So get with time. Stop ripping people off. You can still make some money. That's fine. It's great. We want to promote it. We call those museums, right? The liquor stores that jack up their price.
We don't shop at those.
No, we laugh at those liquor stores, but I get like, yes, you wanted to make some money. Yes, you have a small liquor store and it's hard. Times are tough. I get it, but it's just going to sit on the shelf most of the time. There might be one sucker that comes in. Oh, you have Stag Junior, $300. Take my money, but we're not one of them. So
definitely not,
and you shouldn't be either. And I love Stag Junior, and I like my Wellers, and I like rare bottles, just like the next person. But don't lose all your money. So,
actually, I wanted to say, whenever you talked about the museums, some of the craziest prices I've seen on some videos recently, on Bruzel, he's one of the YouTubers I like to follow. Can you guess what this store had the Wild Turkey 70th priced at? It's a $50 bottle, and I feel like it's pretty available, but just guess what this store had.
I don't know, $100?
No.
150?
No.
$1 million.
No. It had it for $250, and I thought it was like, bro, you don't even know what you have. Like, it's not that much. Another crazy one was the store had Elmer T. Lee for $1,000.
That's crazy.
What is going on?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get an Elmer T. Lee. You were with me, actually.
Man, that was a short relationship, but it was really, really great.
It was. Unfortunately, that liquor store went out of business, and really nice guy, Larry's Liquor in Denison. Really nice gentleman. Talk to him all the time. Just stop by and say hi and stuff. And never really expected to get anything. It's fine. He's a cool dude. Like, whatever. Networking's not just about, it's me, give me a bottle. But we were standing there after coming back from a bourbon run or something, and he got a box, and a truck came in, and we're like, hey, let's check out and see what he has. And I've seen an Elmer T. Lee a few times in liquor stores and in museums and stuff, but I pulled the bottle up, and I was like, I think that's an Elmer T. Lee to myself, and sure enough, it was. And you got a bottle of Stag, and Fathead got a bottle of Weller 12. I mean, those 3 decent bottles, decently priced.
And he paid close to $100 for it, I believe, and it was a liter. And he was kind of upset, but I think
for the Weller 12.
Yeah, I think that's starting to become his favorite bourbon. So I don't think he's as upset about it anymore.
Yeah, hey, I remember my first beer as well. So
yeah, my first Weller 12, which turned into a poor man's Pappy.
Yeah, which is we honestly should probably talk about that. Maybe we'll save that for last call, because I'm going to do that with the 107 freshly cracked 107 that I open specifically for this pod for all you wonderful people out there. So we're going to do some comparisons today. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we've got two glasses in front of us. So I'm going to talk about the one that I'm highlighting, which is Weller Antique 107. So Weller is a 107 proof. It's around $50 to $55 MSRP. Secondary, you can see these anywhere from $100 to $150. I would not pay a dime over $100 if you haven't had one. I do think it's worth to get the $100 to pay for that. I think it is a very good bourbon. It's around 6 to 8 years. Allegedly, the mash bill, there's some speculation on it, is 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. Um, the nose is a little fruity. The palate's spicy, got a little bit of vanilla, and I definitely get some cinnamon and a little tiny bit of tobacco on the finish. And it does do a nice job giving you that little Kentucky hug on the way down.
And there's something about the Buffalo Trace stuff that I'm starting to pick up these apple smells, and I don't understand why. Because I know each mash bill is different, but I have a Blanton straight from the barrel, smells like apples. I was smelling Stag the other day, smells like apples. This Weller right now, apples, and I don't know where that flavor note's coming from. It's really weird.
I can agree to you. The straight from the barrel really was the one that punched that apple, and then you started talking about apples, and I can agree. I also get that Buffalo Trace grape kind of cherry note
From the 107.
Yeah, a little bit. It's like it's their hit. It's kind of like when you go from front to mid palate, it's like right there. It does a super, and yeah, we're talking a little bit. We're going bourbon nerds right here on the sip, but I can pick it up a little bit.
I can kind of get that. The kind of the grapey flavor that I would get from the Russells and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're getting the tobacco on the very end. It kind of has that tobacco note. And I drink green tea. Remember I talked to you guys last episode about green tea. I've been drinking my green tea, so I really do believe it's been helping quite a bit. But this is an outstanding bourbon. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this because William Lou Weller, which I'm going to go on a rant real quick. That's my dream bottle. So I know you all out there, I hope you have a dream bottle. Not just to, be like, oh, everybody wants a Pappy and, all that kind of crazy stuff. But William Lou Weller is my dream bottle. It's a bottle I hope to get. I talked about it, I think, before. I want to expand my BTAC. I don't want to overpay. Those bottles go anywhere from their MSRP around $189.99. They go anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200, $1,500.
They're like 130, with some of them like 129.99.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, some of the stores obviously will jack it up a little bit that do the raffles and stuff, but yeah, I think George T. Stagg is $129.99. I think William LaRue Weller is right around that same price range.
Yeah, so William LaRue Weller is one of the most influential distillers of all time. Dear to my heart, obviously, weeded bourbon. I think, for some of you out there that hopefully are listening to this, that you're just not quite fond of bourbon yet. It's a little too spicy, a little too hot. Weeded bourbons are a great place to start. I kind of start, really entered my journey full-fledged into that weeded. Makers is a weeded bourbon. Rebel 10, if you can get your hands on one of those, is outstanding. Highly recommend. That's by Lux Row. All the Weller products are obviously weeded. There's Larceny. Their barrel proofs they've been very. Fred Minnick's been singing their praises the last few of those batches. So there's a lot of really good weeded products out there, and it's a little softer. I think it's smooth. So if you're not a huge bourbon, just like a stone cold bourbon guy, then weeded might be your jam. So if you haven't tried a weeded, I highly recommend it. We're going to talk about a couple amazing bottles and give you some really good, valuable choices too as well. So, but I want to go back to William Lou Weller. So he was the first person, supposedly, right? There's a lot of supposedly in the history of bourbon. He was the first one to start using wheat over rye in his mash bill. So he's accredited to that. He actually, Pappy Van Winkle worked for him, which is kind of funny because Pappy Van Winkle ended up purchasing William L. Weller. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the history going into. So Pappy Van Winkle, he was started as a salesman. He bought the liquor distributor company. Sorry, I can't talk tonight. William L. Weller and Sons in 1908. During Prohibition, Pappy operated his distribution company in a partnership with the APH Stitzel Distillery under one of the medicinal licenses, which we talked about that. There was only 6 other companies or distilleries that had that license during Prohibition. Brown Foreman was one of those, which we talked about last episode. Pappy actually merged with William L. Weller and Sons, like I had mentioned, and then they ended up to form the Stitzel and Weller, which you're probably familiar with. That's a really popular distillery. They opened actually on Kentucky Derby Day in 1935. So the earliest bottling of Weller is typically what a lot of people have stated. What I read was around 1936. But Old Fitzgerald is a Weller product, according to Weller's. Cabin Still, Rebel Yell, and then Old Rip Van Winkle bourbon was actually labeled and sold pre-Prohibition. And they didn't reintroduce, which I didn't realize that, they didn't reintroduce that into the market until the 1970s. So, and everybody wants a Pappy, right? I think that's like the holy grail of bourbon. I've had a Pappy Lot B. I don't think I've had the 10-year.
The 10 year is the one I really want. I really like the label on the old Rip 10, but the only way you're ever going to get those is in raffles and stuff, or if you just get super freaking lucky. But it was the whole Pappygate thing that happened where the guy from the distillery was just taking bottles and then selling them to his friends, and the Pappy got out there. And I think around COVID is when bourbon really kind of took off, because I think 6 or 7 years ago, you could just go into the store and get a Pappy that's sitting on the shelf, or a Blanton's or Eagle Rare, and now all that stuff's just allocated. And I actually think Buffalo Trace or Sazerac has actually come out and said that they regret making the Pappies an allocated product, which makes sense, honestly.
Yeah, it's crazy going back to thinking about going to liquor stores. I remember seeing those way back when. It gives my age away.
See, but I've only been in for a year, so I didn't get to, like, whenever I went in back in the day, I'm like, all right, I actually used to drink Wild Turkey. It was Wild Turkey American Honey. I'm like, I want some Wild Turkey American Honey and Coke, or I'd go get Jameson. And, now that I'm in here, I'm like, man, I really wish I would have paid more attention when I was going to the liquor stores 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, and if you do any research or watch any whiskey tubers, they always talk about Old Besties, which are older bottles from like the 70s and 80s and even earlier than that. I haven't seen one video where they compared the old versus the new, and the old did not win. So, it's unfortunate. Yes, we're getting some amazing bourbon. There's tons of new companies, distilleries that are coming out that are trying new things and pushing the boundaries. So, which we'll talk about one of those here shortly. So, just a little bit more about Weller. So we're drinking the 107, which is the red bottle. They have the green label, which is special reserve. They have the Weller 12 in a black bottle, Weller full proof. They have Weller single barrel, which is orange label, and then the CYPB, which I actually had the opportunity to try the CYPB. I have a bottle of it. I have, finished the Infinity Gauntlet, as we talked about last episode. I enjoyed it. It was like honey, had a good spice on the back end. I had it at what was the Win? I think we went to a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, which had the best gnocchi. Oh my, OMG! Like I didn't
Gnocchi's
even.
not easy to make.
No, it's not easy to make, but this was melt in your mouth like a cloud. It was so good. I didn't even order it. I got to try it. So I think it was my boss or someone that ordered it. So, and then they have the BTAC Willer, and then the new Millennium, Millennium bottle.
You get to try that?
No, I have not tried.
Oh, I was like, geez,
no,
those are expensive drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
Just to put that in perspective, I think the Millennium MSRP is like $5,000 or something nuts.
5 or
like
6,
that.
yeah.
It's
insane.
Which I say MSRP, I don't think it's actually that much. I think that's just what liquor stores are charging. But like those are just ridiculous. That and the double Eagle Rare, whatever, very rare, whatever it's called, just ridiculous. It's just FU money at that point.
Yeah, and I think the first bottle I really overpaid for was a Weller full proof store pick. I had had the opportunity to buy one. I think I paid $250 for it, which is, it's not too bad on secondary. That's basically what they go for. The liquor store, it was like he was selling it for $300. He's like, hey, it's around the Christmas time. I was with my buddy Brian. who you've met, good bourbon friend of mine. Hopefully, we'll probably have him on the pod too as well. I've talked to him about it. Him and I were actually the ones that were talking about starting a podcast, and he got too busy, and then I floated the idea with you, and you bring out movies and all that stuff to the table, so I thought it would be a good mix.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a movie podcast. Me and my friend Casey were talking about it back in like during COVID. We're like, we're bored. We're getting all these checks. We might as well start a podcast or something. I just didn't never get in super into it, but I think that would have been great.
Yeah, with our powers combined, we form the Bourbon Nerds.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I just combined two different themes.
Yeah, you totally did that. So that's not where I was going. That's fine. That's funny. So, all right. Well, Garrett, you're up. I'm excited to talk about this gem, and you probably haven't seen it yet in stores because everyone's buying it up.
Let's just say it smells delicious and it tastes delicious, and I would definitely say this is a really good Weller killer. To be fair, I'm not a huge Weller fan, and that is why I immediately was like, hey, I'm going to mix my 107, my Weller 12, and I'm going to make the Poor Man's Pappy because they're fine. They're good on their own. They're good, but when I mixed that was pretty darn good. But so my bourbon here is the Bardstown High Wheat, which is the new part of the Bardstown Origin series. The really cool thing about Bardstown is they put everything on their label, so there's no surprises. So this says it's a 6-year bourbon that was distilled in 2018. It is 53% corn, 39% wheat, and I think that says 8 or 9. Let me do math. Yeah, 8% malted barley. These are kind of hard to read. It's like a gold lettering. But it's part of the Origin series, which actually, interesting enough, started in 2023, and they already have 3 awesome offerings. They have their higher rye offering. They have the bottled and bond, which is also wheater. That one's a 20% wheat, so it's a little bit less, but also very good. I really like it. I'm a big Bardstown guy. I would debate that they're debatably be my favorite distillery out there. So, yeah, I just really love Bardstown. If you see this on your shelf and you're a wheat fan, this is very worth getting.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Origin series, to be fair, the Origin series are excellent bottles at an excellent price, and Bardstown can be intimidating. The Discovery series is very pricey, around 130 to 150 ish range, depending on where you buy that. We obviously just got a Discovery Series 12, which I'm super happy. I haven't got to try it yet.
You're getting very old bourbons, and the last 2 have been all Kentucky, which everybody loves Kentucky. Which the rumor is in this new one, it's 14-year-old Turkey, 10-year-old Jim Beam, 10-year-old Heaven Hill, and then their own 4 grain. And God, it's so good. It's very good. The Discovery Series 12, I highly recommend if you see one, you grab it, because to me, those are kind of like seeing Stags, or honestly, that's kind of their limited release. That's kind of like the George C. Stag, or, not quite on that level, but very delicious and very, very worth the price. I know 130 is a lot, but man, you're getting some good stuff. And it's just one of those special bottles that you can go to every now and then. A couple things about Bardstown real quick, though. Bardstown is known as the bourbon capital of the world. We're talking about Bardstown, Kentucky. But obviously they built a distillery there. It was founded in 2014. Peter Lofton, David Mandel, Daniel Linday, and Garnett Black, which I apologize if I brutalized any of those names. They founded the company with the goal of revolutionizing bourbon production. They began distilling bourbon in 2016. They created over 50 unique mash bills for more than 30 spirits. In 2023, they released the first collection of whiskey entirely of its own creation, the Origin series. Before that, they were doing Discovery series, which they were sourcing from other companies and then mixing it, which they still do, but now they put their own stuff in it, which is really cool. They also had the Fusion series, which I think it was called the Fusion series before, and then they renamed it to the Discovery series. I could be wrong there.
No, those are 2 different.
Are they 2 different things?
They're 2 different things.
Because it seems like almost the same thing, where they're just mixing other distilleries. Because I have some Fusion, I have some Discovery series, and on the labels it kind of looks like they're almost the same thing.
No, yeah, but they are two distinctive products because they've been all the way since Discovery Series 1, and they have their own. They've been coming out with multiple Fusion series. So, but
Another cool thing is their production capacity is 1.5 million proof gallons, or about 23,000 barrels annually. In 2022, it produced an estimated 118,000 barrels. This is actually one of the biggest distilleries, and they've really only been around since 2014, which is insane.
yeah, that's crazy.
Their master distiller is Steve Nally, and he's master distiller. He was previously the master distiller at Maker's Mark and Wyoming Whiskey, and is a member of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. So, I think I read that Steve was the master distiller at Maker's Mark since 1988. So, being part of the Bourbon Hall of Fame and being part of a really popular weeded bourbon, which I don't know if you mentioned earlier, but Maker's Mark is Maker's Mark. I keep saying Maker's Mark. It's like Kmart or Walmart.
Maker's Mart.
But Maker's Mark is a weeded bourbon. It's a very popular one.
Yes, it is, and it's pretty good. Like I think that's a great starter bourbon. Like I used to not like Maker's Mark, and then I lived in Barbados for a few years, and I started because my buddy used to drink it, and then they didn't have a lot of bourbon there, and I started drinking Maker's Mark, and it grew on me because it's got a very strong brown sugar kind of caramel, but it's like it was a little overwhelming to me because I was like Crown and rum. Barbados is known for rum, and I love rum absolutely. Foursquare Distillery is in Barbados. They make some of the best rums in the world. They've won rum distillery, I think, in 2020 or 18. They've won it several years. So we'll talk. If you want to hear a little bit about rum, we would love to talk about this. I know this is a bourbon podcast, but I think rum is also, there's some really good rums out there. Mount Gay is another Barbados. Sorry, I'm kind of going off a tangent here. So they're another rum distillery.
Captain Morgan fan myself.
Get out of here. So I will not drink Captain Morgan. I will, and if you like Captain Morgan, I'm no offense, but there is better rums out there. I promise you.
I'm sure there is, but when I'm just like, hey, give me a rum and pineapple, a lot of times it's gonna be Captain Morgan or something.
Well,
something I was used to.
Well, don't put pineapple in your rum. That's your first mistake.
So good.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that.
So some of the notes, which just smelling it, you can kind of smell the wheat. I'm kind of getting some vanilla cream. I almost smell like chocolate. I don't know if you're getting that or not. I know on the palate I get some chocolate. It's weird. Like I get like some chocolate and some cinnamon on the palate, which seems like a weird mixture, but it all works so well together. Honestly,
yeah. My nose is a little off tonight, and I don't have the best nose. So I had allergies and stuff as I've gotten older or whatever else. But yeah, I mean, I smell the vanilla cream for sure. The palate, I've been going back and forth. So that, like, if you don't know, what your favorite bourbon is, or like, oh, is this one better than the other one? Doing side by side comparisons is so revealing sometimes. And I drink these two, go back and forth, and they're both great. They're both delicious. I know you don't like Weller's as much as I do, but
honestly, the 107 tonight isn't quite what I remember from before. It is still a little ethanol-y. I still feel, the 107 is obviously 107. The Bardstown is a 106. And honestly, the 107 just drinks a lot hotter to me. Still, the Bardstown, I still prefer the Bardstown. I just like the flavors and the mixture a lot better. But I'm a big Bardstown guy. But the 107 is great. I still really like it.
Yeah, and I hear you on the Bardstown being a little smoother, I think it is. But I mean, I kind of like a little punch on the cinnamon and that tobacco note, which I think is probably the little stringency that you're getting. Is that kind of maybe tobacco that I'm getting? So, but I enjoy it. So I don't know. They're both really good.
The finish on this Bardstown is better to me also, and I prefer the nose on it more than the 107. So I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the Bardstown, but the 107 is drinking really good tonight. I also poured a little bit of this Redwood Empire Screaming Titan, which is also a weeder, and I'm going to see how this does with them. Shout out to Redwood Empire. They're one of my favorite distilleries. Also, I know Cody's not as big of a fan, not a sponsor, but
hold on.
Them.
Time out.
Yeah,
they make good stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Not a hater.
Oh, I didn't say you're a hater. I said you're not as big of a fan
You
as
know,
I am.
you are you are a huge fan of theirs. I'm not quite up there on that, but they do make some really good products. I
I
would
think
highly recommend checking them out. Lost Monarch, Emerald Giant, what is
the Pipe Dream.
yeah, the Pipe Dream is very similar. Like if you like cinnamon, Pipe Dream is your jam.
Get that Pipe Dream cast strength. It really, really bumps it up. Also, they're releasing a 101, which I'm very excited to try. I think it's their marketing though. These labels for Roadwood Empire they're all just super creative. Like this one has a freaking tree giant on it. Like,
Almost looks like Sasquatch if he was a tree.
hey now,
I know.
don't dog on my boy Sasquatch.
I'm not dogging on
Hey,
him.
I
know
want to do a
you're-
whole Bigfoot episode.
We should.
If you guys want to hear the origin or like the anything about Bigfoot, just hit us up and we'll talk all about Bigfoot and he lives around here somewhere.
I hope you guys picked
maybe
up.
he's a bourbon fan.
Sorry, I cut you off. I hope you guys picked up on that X-Files music.
Yeah, maybe he's a bourbon fan though, just out there in the woods, just drinking some good old pappies, and he's like, "Screw you guys, I'm just having a good time out here."
Yeah, that reminds me of that story that your cousin or the one that did the tour told us about on the tour in Hochatown.
Oh yeah, my mother-in-law's.
Your
I think it's my mother-in-law's cousin. I think is what he is.
So if you're ever in Hochatown, go check out the Hochatown Distillery up there. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, he's
tour.
super entertaining.
Yeah.
If you get anything out of it, you get entertainment. And honestly, they have a lot of really cool shirts. I got a really cool Bigfoot shirt from there.
You did. No, that was a cool shirt. I was trying to get a shirt, but they didn't have the one that I wanted on my size. So, but anyways, keep going. You're doing well. Bardstown's great. These are. I don't honestly. I don't know which one I prefer. And that should tell you this one. Should be hopefully readily available. It's much cheaper because typically you're not getting a 107 at MSRP, and if you are, you're a lucky person and pick that bottle up.
I did. You just have to follow the liquor stores at the right time.
Yeah, but you're not just going to randomly walk into a liquor store every once in a while on a blue moon.
Oh, yeah.
But typically, you're not going to get that lucky. But if you are, that's great. And yeah, and like you and your first raffle you ever went to, you won a 107 store pick, which you traded.
I did trade.
But
I want to go back to Maker's Mark a little bit. I meant to chime in, and then I got distracted by the Bardstown. But I want to like Maker's Mark, and I tried the cast strength. I tried a pick that someone say whiskey did, and for some reason, every time it's so subtle that it's annoying. I'm like, dude, this is a cast strength weeder. It shouldn't be this subtle, but it is. It's good flavors. But I just wish it would punch a little. Like these punch a little more. The flavors stand out more. I'm drinking the Screaming Titan. It's actually really standing out to me right now. And I don't know. Maker's Mark just doesn't do it for me. But I mean, it's try your own thing. You guys may pick up different flavors than I do, or it may be a little bit more than what I'm getting. I'm not really sure, honestly.
Yeah, so the wood finishing series, the BRTO1, was really good. If you like butterscotch, that's one of my favorite tasting notes. Love butterscotch.
Yeah, just like the
candies.
The Pursuit United Double Oak is like a butterscotch bomb.
Oh yeah, and then the double oaked Woodford
Reserve,
yeah, the store pick or whatever, the one that Aaron them. Yeah, the Lazy
K River Ranch or I don't know.
Yeah, that's a butterscotch bomb. So it's really good. And we didn't even say from barrel to brain. We missed that segment piece, I think.
Okay. This segment was from barrel to brain.
It is, but now it's
but
not.
Now it's not that.
It's not from. Now it's from.
Now we're going into nerd rage.
Nerd rage.
Nerd rage. And on today's nerd rage, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about. I just wanted to talk a little bit about cons. I go to a lot of cons every year. I like Fan Expo. I think I talked a little bit on the last episode where I was saying, meet your the people that you look up to and things. But I've met a lot of really great people at con. Have you ever been to a con?
No.
Have you ever gone to meet anybody and get like an autograph or anything like that?
Not like a Star Wars or any of that stuff.
No, I mean like just in general. Have you ever been to like a sports?
Yeah, like a sports thing. Yeah, I've done.
Yeah, it's so like I don't know how you feel when you're about to meet somebody, but I actually got to meet Hayden Christensen a couple years ago. Maybe that was last summer, but I feel like I'm not one of those guys who really gets starstruck. Like I'll go meet somebody. I ran into Russell Westbrook at a bar, and my ex at the time just like pushed him out of the way because he's in the way of the bar. But he's just like, oh, cool, that's Russell Westbrook at the bar, or whatever. But when I got up in front of Hayden Christensen, like I wanted to tell him, hey, I really liked you in Night of the Living Dummy 3, which is an R.L. Stein Goosebumps book. And he was actually, did you ever watch Goosebumps growing up?
I had like 700 Goosebumps. Like when you were a kid, Pogs and Goosebumps was like, that was like your street cred back in the day.
But did you ever watch any of the movies or shows?
I watched a few of the shows for sure. I had probably 700 books. I probably read like 5 of them. To be fair, I'm telling on myself, yeah. It's
well, I mean, you
terrible.
get those at the Scholastic Book Fair, and you're like, oh, that's really cool looking. But he was I think it was Night of the Living Dummy 3, and he played the cousin Zane. And I just wanted to be like, man, I really loved you as Zane. And I doubt anybody even knows that was him. And I'm sure somebody's listening and go, oh my God, hey, I know that. But I wanted to say that. And when I got up there to him, I just froze, and I could not talk at all. And I was just like, dude, I've never experienced that ever. And I'm just like, that must be what it really, truly feels like to be like just starstruck. I mean, it's not every day you get to meet Anakin Skywalker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, if I met Luca, I'm sure I'd be starstruck because I'm a huge fan of his, Michael Jordan or somebody like that. But I met Charles Barkley on the plane I was flying. I forgot, I think from Phoenix.
I heard he's really cool, and he's a very good tipper.
I don't know. He didn't tip me, but
well, you weren't dealing him cards. He apparently loves to gamble, and he's one of the best tippers you could if you're out there dealing to him.
But I did get to hear, like, I asked him, I was like, "Can you please do the terrible thing for me?" He did do the terrible thing, and that literally made my whole day.
Terrible.
That's terrible. But you know what's not terrible? These 2 bourbons that we're sipping on.
So. I'm already working on my 4th. I'm about to pour this Bardstown Origin Series bottled in bond, which is also a weeder.
I'm distracted by trying to figure out which one of these is better. It's really bothering me that I can't just name a clear favorite here.
It's okay if you pick the Bardstown. We're not going to judge you. You can be a tater hater too. It's fine.
I'm here to pick the best bourbon out of these 2, and it's undecided so far.
Which bourbon do you like better, and why is it Bardstown?
That was pretty. That was like real smooth operator,
like this Bardstown bourbon.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to talk about for Nerd Rage?
Not really.
Any games other than zombies or Call of Duty?
No, haven't had. I mean, we literally have done nothing but record and study and.
Okay, let me ask you then. What is your all-time favorite game?
Oh, Diablo 2. I think of all time, it's my favorite.
Diablo 2, huh?
Yeah.
How many Diablos are there
now? 4.
Okay, so was Diablo 2 like PlayStation 2 or?
It was no, I think it was PC.
Oh, I
think it was only PC back in the day, and they re-released a couple of years ago. They remastered it, and you could get it on PS5 and other consoles, but and PS4 was one of them. And
that's
Xbox.
How it was. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, for sure. But that's probably my all-time favorite game. It's funny. We talk about nerd stuff real quick, and I'll tell you like something funny because I didn't really plan anything to mention this, but anytime I used to introduce someone to my mother or to my family, my mom would always be like, "Oh, my son beat Mario when he was 3 years old." I kid you not. It doesn't matter who. We could meet the president of the United States of America, and she'd be like, "Oh, my son beat Mario when he was 3 years old." So. It's funny. I kind of tell that story and think back at that and like, I'm like, "Hey, Mom, meet my new girlfriend or whatever, way back in the day." And she's like, "Oh, guess what my son did? He beat Mario when I was 3 years old." So
was that your vows at your wedding? I beat Mario when I'm 3 years old. Oh, no, actually, you're getting married next year.
Yeah, I'm getting married next year.
So that has to be part of your vows. Or if I do like a speech or something, I'm totally bringing that up.
I'll just get.
Can you beat Mario still?
I'll just get my mom to say, "Hey, Mom, what did I do when I was 3?" So that would be kind of funny, but. Those games are really hard, so I don't know if I can beat those today, but that is something I did, so I guess that makes me a full nerd, so let's go.
Another game that was hard, I always struggled with was GoldenEye, which I loved GoldenEye. I played a lot of GoldenEye growing up. You remember you could do the big heads and stuff. I could never get past the second to last mission, and it was whenever you're trying to protect whoever it is from typing on the computer, and they're coming from all sides. I could never beat that level, and it was always really annoying because the level after that was very easy compared to, and I'm just like, that was one of the hardest levels I think I've ever had to deal with. Did you have a lot of GoldenEye experience growing up?
Absolutely. GoldenEye might be the greatest first person shooter of all time.
Definitely up there with Doom. Was it Doom 2?
I don't know. Both teams are awesome.
Doom 2 was great. When did they do the BFG? Was that Doom 2 or did they do that with 1?
I'm not sure. I think
Or
they had
Doom
it.
3. It was Doom 3.
No, they did in Doom 2, I'm pretty
I
sure.
think Doom 3 is the one that I really, really liked and I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I just remember when rocking out on Windows 95 and playing some Doom at my mom and stepdad at the time. I'd go over there and, they had computers like were not a common thing.
Yeah, I played like Where in the World is
Carmen
Sandiego, and then there was also like a Spider-Man Illustrator I used to do, and I make little comics. Like that's what I remember. Everybody's like, "What the heck are you talking about?"
Yeah, no, for sure. No, we're going way back in the time machine now.
Oregon Trail or whatever.
See,
it was.
You got me to go full nerd on the podcast.
Hey, that's the whole point, is to go full nerd. I want to just add before I forget though, because I have a good habit of bringing stuff up and then not answering for myself because we just get so lost in conversation, which is completely fine. My favorite game of all time is Resident Evil 4. And that's a game I played probably 20 or 30 times and never got tired of.
That's a great game.
Even the like the remake, which I haven't got to play the remake a whole lot, but it looks very fun and I really want to pick it up and play it. But oh man, I just always had fun playing it and then getting the Chicago typewriter, and so it just made the Resident Evil games after that kind of disappointing. Like 5 was fine, then 6 got really weird, and then they had Biohazard, which I think was the 7th one, which I haven't quite got to finish. And then Village I heard was really good. I haven't got to play that one.
I haven't played that one,
but it looks really cool. And I know that there's some popular characters like the big vampire lady is a very popular costume that people wear.
Yeah,
but yeah, so. I love Resident Evil 4 though, and that whole series is fun. The movies are, they're kind of fun too. I guess I think that they've had some missed opportunities, but
yeah, no, I remember me and my buddy, who's no longer alive, rest in peace, Tyler Shine. So one of my best friends. We spent a lot of time when we were growing up, but we played Resident Evil 1 together, and that game used to scare the living BGs out of me. I remember my most memorable Christmas. When you get exactly what you want for Christmas, it's like the greatest feeling ever.
Oh yeah.
Like when you're young, right? Now it's like, I mean, if you want to get me something for Christmas, I want a bottle of William Blue Weller.
When I was young, it was you just give me a Ninja Turtle, anything Ninja Turtle, and I was completely happy.
Well, I was really young. Yeah, I had the Ninja Turtle like bed sheets. I had like a toy case of Ninja Turtles. I had all the action figures, but I remember opening that PlayStation 2 on Christmas, and my grandmother got it for me, my grandpa, and I just will never forget that feeling of like I had no idea, because they were expensive back then. So that's a Christmas I'll never forget. And I remember getting Resident Evil 2 as one of the I think they didn't give me that for Christmas, but I had got that game later and played that. Those Resident Evils are so freaking hard. But I remember playing that game quite a bit. So it was a lot of fun. It's good stuff.
Resident Evil 4 isn't hard after you've finished it the first time. And then the second go around, you just use a Chicago typewriter. It just has like unlimited ammo, and it was just super OP. And it's just like you're just flying through and enjoying, just demolishing everyone. You're like, the chainsaw guy's not so hard now. But whenever I remember one Christmas I got the PS2, and this actually reminded me of one of the first games that I truly kind of got me into those kind of games is Silent Hill. I believe it was Silent Hill 4. It was called The Room. And the whole game, you're just in an apartment building, but you go through like this weird like little almost portal in the wall. Did you ever play any of the Silent Hill games?
I played like Silent Hill 2, I think. But that wasn't my cup of tea.
But the 4, it was really cool. Like it was a very cool concept. You're just stuck in this apartment, almost like the movie 1408. I don't know if you've ever seen that with John Cusack. If you haven't, you should watch it. It's fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm a big John Cusack fan.
Have you ever seen 1408?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
Yeah, so he's stuck in this apartment, right? And he's like, so it's kind of like that, where you can't get out. Your door is like messed up in the windows, and I almost feel like maybe Stephen King got that idea, which I don't know who did what first. I'm sure Stephen King probably wrote the short story first, and maybe Silent Hill was like, oh, that's a cool concept. But they go in and go somehow the portal leads to Silent Hill, and then you get to the end and it's a really kind of disappointing final boss. But I just remember really, really excited to play that game and excited to get to the end, and then just let down by the ending. But
Oh yeah.
it was the first game I ever like fully beat like that, and it was disappointing, but it's very memorable, and it's still, it was still a very fun game up until that point. Like, not every game is going to have a great ending.
No, definitely not. So you know what time it is?
Bourbon time.
No, it's time for Whiskey Sideline. And we have
The
a lot to talk
whiskey
about.
sideline.
Yes, sir.
Well, so I think one of the things we should definitely talk about is why the overtime rules in college and the NFL both suck. I want to use different wording, but I'm not going to use those wordings. But they do suck. It does suck.
Yeah, so we disagree a little bit on the NFL overtime. Yes, I don't think it's the best, but I do think it's 1,000 times better than in college.
I don't think it's that we disagree. I think it's that I think that's a misunderstanding. I think it's fine if both teams would get an opportunity to score, like you said earlier.
Yeah, we agree with
so
that.
I think we actually agree.
100%.
I just think that rule sucks, because if you're playing against Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady and you're in overtime and they flip and they win the toss, you're just like, you just put your hands in your head in your hands, and you're just like, yeah, we just lost the game because they're going to go score.
Yeah, but Garrett, if you're playing against the Chiefs, you're going to miss a field goal. You're going to muff a punt. You're going to do something
Honestly,
crazy.
getting to overtime against the Chiefs is a feat in itself.
Yeah, that's not going to happen if the refs or Taylor Swift have anything to do about it. And I've waited till 3 episodes to mention anything about Taylor Swift, because I was like, by God, I'm not gonna get the Swifties involved and get any. I don't want to get on their bad side, because
Cody, just shake it off.
Shake it off. Shake it off.
It'll be fine.
So let's go back to the college overtime, because it's atrocious, and it really showed in what probably might be one of the best games in the entire year. Georgia against Georgia Tech, 44-42, and it went into how many overtimes?
It went into 8 overtimes, which
in Espanol, that's ocho. That's a lot.
ESPN the Ocho.
But it's really, it's a lot, but it's not a lot, because they're doing the 2-point. They're basically shooting layups, okay? And it needs to stop. You have a game that of epic proportion against a undersized Georgia Tech team, against the mammoth that is Georgia, and you're shooting layups, basically.
Yeah, so the first, I don't know, and this is kind of where I think college messes up. First of all, you start on like the 35-yard line or the 25-yard line in the first overtime, and each team gets a chance to score. And then if you're tied after that, you go to the second overtime, and each team gets a chance to score. I believe if you score in the second overtime, you have to go for 2. You can't just kick the extra point. After that second overtime, though, it's just trading 2-point conversions, and I just don't see the fun in that. That's just not exciting to me. It's like, oh, they went into 8 overtimes. Like, what did they spend, like 10 minutes on those 8 overtimes? I don't know. I feel like they should actually do an overtime, whether it could even be just like 5 minutes or something, and then maybe go to something like that if you're still tied. I don't know. It is pretty frustrating, and that makes it, I'm hoping that the game is just over and we don't go into overtime in college, because then, it's, I don't know, it's kind of boring at that point.
Yeah, NCAA, please change the rule. It needs to change. It needs to change now. It's ridiculous. College has got a lot. I really was, and I mentioned this, I think, a couple episodes ago. I thought college football was dead, but it's not. It's been exciting. It's becoming NFL light.
You know where college is dead? At OSU.
I swear. If I could stop the pod right now and punch Garrett in the face, I would literally do that, because my heart is in shambles of how bad. Oklahoma State is 33. They haven't been this bad in 33 years.
Honestly, I don't think they want to play for Gundy anymore. I think it's, he's been there for a long time, but I think it's just time to move on.
They're not going to move on to Gundy. The contract set up with him, it's not going to make sense to move on. So I'm not sure. There's a lot. The defense is horrible. We're not here to talk about Oklahoma State, though. College football for me is over. But so I do want to talk about one other game which is the Michigan Ohio State game.
And it's not because of what happened, which obviously what happened was pretty interesting. It was what happened after the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, so Michigan beat Ohio State, which is number 2 in the nation, 13-10. And after the game, one of the wonderful Michigan players decided to plant the Michigan flag on the middle at midfield. And guess what decided to happen after that? They started to brawl. There was a huge fight broke out. According to the police reports, it lasted for over 5 minutes. They had to literally pepper spray some of the players.
Which I'm going to be curious to see what they come out and say about pepper spraying college football players, because I don't think that's going to look very good on the police department. Like,
no. Well,
like, really, you have to pepper spray them just to get them off each other? Just let them fight it out. Like, whatever. Just let them wear themselves out.
yeah. Well, I mean, the history of police departments, they don't always have the best track record in some instances, right? I'm not going to be a defund the police or haters or anything like that.
We're not defunding the police or anything. Yeah, like, I actually really respect most police officers, but there are some who make questionable decisions.
Yeah, but remember Scheffler, the golfer, the number one golfer in the world, getting arrested, and that was...
I know Tyreek Hill got arrested earlier this year.
Yeah.
But that's just because he was being a moron.
Yeah, he's Tyreek Hill.
Don't be a moron. Ever since that, like, he kind of wasn't... Actually, that was one of his best games of the season.
He played amazing after that game.
Let's arrest him every Sunday. We'll be fine.
Yeah, get him arrested. So, what else do we have in the college football? There was another. Syracuse beat Miami. So those 2 huge upsets.
I mean, there's been upsets every week, though. It's going to be interesting to see what the committee does with the playoff, which I actually want to ask you, how do you feel about the new college playoff? Isn't it 12 teams?
Yeah, it's 12 teams. I think that's exciting. We're getting closer to like March Madness type NCAA basketball. So I think having 12 teams, you give more opportunities for schools that would never have an opportunity to play for a championship. Even though you're going to see some games where teams are going to get decimated. I mean, what if you have a Cinderella SMU or, a smaller school that can just rise above it? I mean, Cinderella story come out in college football. We've never really had that opportunity. It's been Alabama. It's been Georgia, OU. I mean, some of the bigger schools that just, So I'm excited. This is the first year of it. I can't wait. I think we'll talk a lot more in depth as we get, we're winding down here. I'm getting pretty close to it. So maybe next episode or the next episode or two, we'll talk a little bit about the playoffs. We'll do some playoff predictions, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So a lot happening in college football, a lot of fighting, a lot of pepper spraying, and a lot of overtimes.
Yeah, there's been a couple of chippy games going on, but so I think that'll we're kind of wrap it up there. We'll move on to the pop culture poor segment of the podcast, which I'm very excited to talk about.
Pop culture poor.
Pop culture poor.
We need to get like a
pop
culture
poor.
Yeah, we need to figure out. It's like the Budweiser.
So the topic today, which I'm really excited about, is bourbon in movies.
Ooh,
yeah. So I know a lot of people don't pay attention to props in movies. That's actually a very important job. As props and continuity is making sure that things get put in the same spot that they're supposed to. Like, a lot of people don't pick it up, but those are some things I really look for. I look in movies because I went to film school, so I just look for different things than other people do, and I just notice different things. But one of the cool things is whenever I see bourbon in movies, and like, here's some cool examples. So in The Shining, he's drinking Jack Daniels, which I think is interesting because his name is Jack Nicholson. And so Jack is drinking Jack.
Here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny.
God, that's such a good movie.
I know I'm going to make a lot of people mad, but actually I'm not a huge fan of The Shining, which I don't know.
You're a movie, you're like the horror movie expert buff. And I like The Shining, and I don't know if maybe because it was one of the that and Chucky. Chucky's scarred me for life. I remember
Chucky
standing at the stairs. I wasn't supposed to be watching it. My grandparents, I lived with my grandparents back in the day they adopted me. But I remember sitting on the stairs and watching Chucky. I'm like, oh my God, doll's evil, man.
Yeah,
That's so scary.
I actually have a Chucky tattoo, but it's funny that you said that because the only nightmares I ever remember growing up was Chucky chasing me around my apartment complex. And yeah, I was just like, right before he catch me is when I wake up, of course.
Yeah, so I've stayed at some really old hotels over the years. I do a lot of traveling, but sometimes when I'm walking through an old hotel, I'm like, I can just see a girl riding, like two twins riding their bicycle, like little tricycle thing or whatever that is. That image is stuck in my head. So like, there's a lot of nostalgia around that movie. So it's kind of near and dear to my heart. I don't disagree with you. I'm not a big horror movie fan in general. So I don't like go out to seek, oh, I want to watch a horror movie. Like I do enjoy some of them. Like I think the last horror movie I really enjoyed, like I was like, man, this movie's great, was The Conjuring. Like some of the Conjuring movies, I really enjoyed those. But yeah, so tell us what you like. What's your favorite horror movie? I'd really be interested in. I'm not even going to answer that question because I don't know right now. But yeah, we'd like to hear from you.
So this is super easy. My favorite horror movie is Psycho. I
Oh, that's
love
a good one.
Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. I could watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Man, but if we talk like a top 10, then it gets weird. Going back to The Shining real quick though, I just don't think I'm a fan of Stanley Kubrick, and there's just not a lot of Stanley Kubrick movies I've enjoyed. He did Clockwork Orange, he did The Shining. He's done a lot of other. I just feel like they're really long and really in depth. And actually, the most interesting thing about Stanley Kubrick is the behind the camera stuff that he did. He would like just traumatize you. Poor Shelley Duvall, he traumatized her really bad. He would just tell her, just a bunch of crazy things. And I think she had to take a mental break after The Shining just because I think he just broke her. It was really bad. He was a really rough director, but he was always about getting the best out of your actors, which I can kind of respect at a certain point because you don't want to traumatize someone for life. Like I think her hair was literally falling out. And another fun fact about The Shining is that's Stephen King's least favorite adaptation of his stories because just how different it was, and he doesn't believe that Jack Nicholson was a good cast because he looks like an obvious crazy person, and the person he wrote in the books was kind of like you were surprised by that turn, but you're not really surprised by that turn by Jack Nicholson. You can just see that he's just like that. I don't know. He just has that demeanor about him.
Here's Johnny. So I I said I wasn't going to answer that, but I think Conjuring is probably my favorite scary movie.
The original?
Yeah.
The Conjuring is good. The first two are good because they're directed by James Wan, but after that, he doesn't direct them anymore. And if he doesn't direct them, they're just not that good.
You can tell.
Yeah, like the third one is a joke. I'm think they're gonna make another one. The Nun movies are a joke. There's only one good Annabelle movie, and it's the second one, Annabelle Comes Home. But I don't know, that whole universe is just very hit or miss for me. And if I always have to look at ahead of time, like who's directing it to know if it's gonna be good or bad, because a lot of them now are just going to be bad. I would just wish James Wan would direct them, and they would all be good because he does a good job.
I like The Exorcist a lot. That was one of the first movies that scared the hell out of me.
It's one of the few movies where the actress was nominated for an Oscar for horror, like that. Sigourney Weaver from Alien, Jodie Foster from Silence of the Lambs. Like horror doesn't get recognized enough because there's a lot of performances out there that does a really good job, and they just don't get a lot of award recognition, which I think is really sad.
Yeah, it is. And two things that we're really not going to talk a whole lot about, or probably ever, is politics and religion on this podcast. But exorcism, that to me is very interesting. I'm someone who's grown up in the church, all that kind of stuff, and I've seen a lot of interesting things. I've talked to preachers and stuff like that. I think that would be a cool topic, exorcist, like kind of a horror pod, and maybe talk through some of that and what you believe and what you've seen and heard and stuff like that. So I do believe in like the demons, obviously the devil and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not a believer, I understand that's not trying to upset you or anything like that. But I am a believer, and I've seen some things and heard things, and so I think that would be an interesting topic to.
It is, and I love The Exorcist, but I don't think a lot of the exorcism kind of movies does it right. there's a lot of demon movies they tried to make, and a lot of them just aren't very good.
Yeah.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose is very good.
Yeah. That's
The chick, I think her
excellent.
name's Jennifer Carpenter. She was Deb Morgan in Dexter,
Mm-hmm.
but she's the main character in that, and she does a fantastic job. But other than that, like the Amityville Horror, I don't think is really a demonic movie.
The Pope's Exorcist. Have you seen that? With
I haven't got to watch that one. I've heard mixed reviews on that one. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's bad. Actually, I like The Exorcist, but actually my favorite movie from that franchise is The Exorcist 3. Brad Dourif, the guy who voices Chucky, plays the he's a serial killer. I can't think of the serial killer's name. It's has to do with like seasons or something. I can't think of what it is, but that has some of the best kills and best jump scares, and he does amazing. I'll think of his name in a minute, what his serial killer name is called, but that is a great one. If you guys love The Exorcist, check out Exorcist 3. It's really, really, it will surprise you on how good it has one of the best jump scares of any horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And that I feel like that's saying a lot. But going back to bourbon in movies and TV, we'll say movies and TV because I actually have a couple. I've been watching Yellowstone, which we talked about on a previous podcast, but I see them drinking Bullet a lot, which for a long time I watched them just drinking Bullet. I'm like, that's kind of cheap. These guys are rich. But then whenever he becomes governor, he pops out the Weller 12. I'm like, okay, that's a little better.
Baller.
And then whenever they go to the governor's ball or whatever they do, they're like, oh, let me get a double Buffalo Trace. I'm like, okay, they're changing it up a little bit.
Baller.
They're trying to learn a little bit. In Star Trek, a lot of the episodes, they're not a lot of the episodes, but some of the episodes they feature drinking bourbon or they talk about alcohol or something. And I read that they talk about Dickel, which I wouldn't have guessed would have been one that you would talk about. Which I guess this was happening in the 80s. I don't remember the original Star Trek run, but maybe Dickel was a lot more popular back then.
Flintstone kids.
Yeah, he says that because it's got a minerality to it that tastes like Flintstone vitamins, which
strong and growing. I did that for Jared Sullivan. He said I got that stuck in his head. So he's a bartender at the whiskey bar down in Durant.
Roadhouse 2 recently had Maker's Mark, which I don't know. Did you watch Roadhouse 2?
I have not seen that yet.
Dude, I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but
I do too.
Dude, the one who steals the show is Conor freaking McGregor, man.
Oh, really?
He's so goofy. He's like, I got a message from your father. Just like, what are you
Yeah.
It's so great. Like, he's so bad that it's so good. I don't know. It's really hard to explain.
It's Conor McGregor.
It's so bad that it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I actually messaged Cody when I watched him, like, oh, he's drinking Maker's Mark, because you start picking that stuff up when you get into bourbon. But I thought that was funny. Another one I wanted to highlight was Kingsman, the Golden Circle. They actually drink the Statesman, which became a mainstay on the bourbon shelves from Old Forester.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard mixed things on it, but I don't know.
I don't think I've had that, actually.
I haven't. I'm not a big Old Forester fan personally. So it's not one I would probably buy, but if it was at a bar, I would try it just to say, hey, I tried this. But some of those bourbons I feel are kind of gimmicky, and that one might be gimmicky, but you never know. It could be good.
Yeah, I had mentioned, I think, on one of the previous pods that I had tried the birthday bourbon, which never had.
Jeez, rich person.
Yeah, it was actually priced really well. It was in a steakhouse in Fort Worth, which is an excellent meal. We actually took a couple clients out, or potential clients out for dinner, and they had Little Book, which for whatever reason, I guess it's when it gets cold, I'm like, I turned into a rye guy, which we are going to do a pod about ryes.
Rye guy.
Yeah, we're gonna call me the rye guy, but. Yeah, no, I like 1920. I need to go back to it. 1910, decent. 1924, we both really like, because it was getting hated on.
It's getting hated on, I think, because of the price,
But people were blinding it and be like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, and that's what I actually watched a YouTuber, and he said, people hate on this, but it actually does really well in blinds, because I think that's why I feel like it's important to do blinds, is to be able to try some of this other stuff, and you would be surprised by, I feel like, what would win in the blind from what you think would win.
Yeah, but also want to caution that there's some bourbons that don't do well in blinds that you will actually like. So it isn't the truth, end all, be all. Oh, I don't. Did you? I don't know if you got any of that, but
I did.
so be careful because it's like, oh, well, I hate this bourbon. It didn't do well in a blind. That's not necessarily true. So you have to be careful. Maker's 46, I actually enjoy, and it does not do well in blinds at all. Like
Is
I
it the
think it got
French
dead last.
one? The French
Yeah,
oak?
the French oak one. Yeah, so I think it got dead last in one, and it was off putting a little bit. But I like drinking it by itself. I actually like it, but my buddy actually was like, dude, you gotta try Maker 46. The cash strength I haven't had yet. I need to try that one.
I have that one. It's good. It like again, it doesn't pop like I would want a cast strength to pop. Like the flavors are there, but it doesn't taste any different from just the regular Maker's offerings. Like it doesn't pop, like the proof doesn't add more punch to it.
Yeah, so that's interesting you say that because we drank these two bourbons today, and I think the 107 pops more than the Bardstown. Bardstown is absolutely phenomenal. I would probably say I would go with Weller 107 by like the slimmest of margins. You know that they had a race in the Olympics or whatever that was literally the closest race ever. Like that's what I would. That's literally a coin flip. And I love Bardstown. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's just I love the flavors of Bardstown better. I don't know. I think I just prefer the flavor profile more.
Better than Buffalo Trace.
But not Buffalo Trace. This is
Well,
the Buffalo Trace weeded mash bill.
Okay.
I think that's a very distinct difference because if you put that up against a Stag or a George T. Stag, like those are winning hands down. I think Eagle Rare. I wish Eagle Rare was a little higher proof, but
Yeah,
I think
would be good.
I think we would get that
Eagle
old
Rare.
school 101 Eagle Rare. I think would really
Ooh-wee.
compete.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those other mash bills, I think probably like because I could do a Blanton's Gold or straight from the barrel or anything like that, and that mash bill has flavors that I prefer, like that apple leaf flavor. But I don't know, Bardstown, just as far as weeded goes, I just really prefer those flavors to the Wellers.
Okay. I don't disagree. So that was a good. Well, we weren't really planning to talk about a whole lot, and I think we.
Well, and I still have one more to talk about.
Oh, okay. I'll shut up then. Go ahead.
Mr. John Wick.
Oh yeah. So the cat John Wick. I love John Wick movies, by the way, and I've loved the fourth one. I think it's excellently done. It's entertaining, exciting, and I know people are like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of beating the crap out of somebody." And it is to a degree, but I thought the story in that was good. The acting, the Asian dude, the blind Asian guy in that. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
He's a very popular actor over in like Asia and China and stuff.
He does such a good job. I love his character. Unfortunately, the guy that's the bellman at the hotel.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he passed away. I think it was last year.
Actually, my problem with John Wick 4 was how long it was. I feel like they could have shortened it just a little bit. Like, the stair fight is cool, but gosh, dang, he gets to the top and then he gets pushed all the way back. I'm like,
yeah,
he was there. Now we have to watch him go all the way
but
back up the stairs again.
That's like suspense, man. It's like watching a horror movie and getting scared or something, and you want to figure out if the person's going to get killed or not.
I don't know. I just feel like sometimes those movies are a little too long.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Donnie Yen, by the way.
Yeah, Donnie Yen. Yeah. So, huge John Wick. John Wick dreams Blanton's, and I went because my fiance had never seen any John Wick movies before the fourth one came out, or when we were like, oh, it's going to come out in a month or whatever. So I went back and watched them all with her, and we were like, oh, she's drinking Blanton's, which I thought was pretty cool. But I don't drink any more Blanton's because of that or anything. I think. So people always that's probably the most controversial bourbon. One of them. It's like, oh, Blanton's it's a nostalgic bourbon. I think it's a good bourbon, but it's not worth $150, $200. Like if you get it, and it costs now is like $90. Like
I don't even know if it's worth it at that price. Like the whole thing, the bourbon is fine, but I think the whole thing is kind of gimmicky. Where the bottle's beautiful and the stoppers really cool. Like you could collect all the stoppers and
got to catch them all.
A lot of like if you have a Blanton's and didn't know, but there is a little letter on the bottom of the horse, and each letter spells out Blanton's. And then if you get all of the letters that spell out Blanton's, you can send it to Buffalo Trace, and they'll create you this custom thing I don't really know exactly. I think it's just like a little display for them all,
Yeah, it's
but
like a display.
it's really cool. And then John Wick came out, and I think Blanton's just kind of took off, and everybody walks in the stores. Got any Blantons? And I think it just kind of annoyed shop owners at that point.
Yeah, for sure. But John Wick's a good movie. Obviously,
I mean, the
don't
first
mess with
one's
his
really
dog.
good.
Yeah,
Like
first
the
one's so
whole
good.
boogeyman scene where he's explaining to his son like why he's called the boogeyman.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I love watching that scene in general. He's just like, he's the one you send to kill
Kill the
the effing
boogeyman.
boogeyman.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, that guy messed up
No, it's
bad.
legit.
You killed, and I absolutely hate when they kill animals in movies. Like whenever in I Am Legend, whenever he had to kill the dog because it got infected. I
Oh,
cried
yeah.
because that was the thing he had that connected him to his daughter, and I was like, dude, why would you do that? That's so messed up.
God, that's a
Like,
tearjerker, that part.
yes, and that's a movie that's interesting because I think the alternate ending to that was better than the ending that they ended up going with, which I think they're going to make a sequel and make the alternate ending the actual ending. So that'll be kind of interesting if they do that. But in John Wick, whenever they do that at the very beginning, I'm like, do I even want to finish this movie because that's really messed up and I hate it. But yeah, it ended up being it's a really good movie. It's very good action. The director actually was a stuntman for a long time, so he actually really knew what the stunts should look like.
Yeah, but John Wick's are good. I highly recommend. If you haven't watched them, you should watch all of them. If you like action, that's about as much action as you can get in any
Oh,
movie.
definitely. I mean, and like I said, whenever it was a stunt guy who did it, so he kind of understands realistic action. Like, someone doesn't have infinite amount of bullets or anything like that.
Yeah, and Keanu Reeves trained I think like a Navy SEAL. I remember watching some of the training videos and stuff he was doing. He was doing some rigorous training
And
for those
Keanu
movies.
Reeves is just that's a whole story in of
Dude, he's
itself.
the
Like,
man.
he's just
I
he's
love
just like
Keanu
a
Reeves.
regular guy that's just acting and just living life. That guy's awesome. I
Yeah,
love Keanu Reeves.
do you know like he was like living I think on a park bench or something? He was homeless or something before he got his acting career. Like there's a whole story about him, and I need to go back and look at all into all that. But he's
Bill and Ted baby.
yeah, Bill and Ted's Amazing Adventures. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about my next segment, which is Neat and Balanced. That's my health segment. So I want to talk to you a little bit about gut health. I think gut health is something that is not talked about enough. I think it's something that's really important. And I'm just going to briefly talk about this topic a little bit. Obviously, your gut is involved in your nutrient absorption. Anytime you're trying to bulk up, eat a bunch of protein, anything like that. I've recently, and I mentioned it last pod, started drinking green tea with probiotics and ginger, and also take a probiotic supplement, which I think has had immense improvement just on my gut health. And you're like, oh, well, why are you drinking bourbon if you are important on gut health? And yes, there's alcohol is something to take in consideration and drink in moderation. That can have an impact on your gut health, but having a healthy gut, understanding what you're allergic to. I know that I have unfortunately become lactose intolerant in my older age, and I can't drink milk. I have to be very cautious of eating ice cream. I love ice cream. With
Lieutenant
a passion.
Dan, ice cream.
Ice cream. You scream. We all scream for ice cream. But no, but I think gut health is really important. If you're trying to get healthy, a lot of what we do and eat, whether what we eat, what we're drinking, digesting, I think is really important. And I'll share a little bit more with you guys on some things that you can do. I think you have to be very careful. A lot of people are consuming like Splenda and different things like that. I think some of those, diet sodas, I think those things are really bad for your gut health. There's some research out there that show that they can have a devastating impact on your good bacteria. It's all about having the good bacteria in your gut. And so I just wanted to mention that today. I think that's really important. If you're looking to get healthy, and yes, we got the new year coming right around the corner, everyone wants to shed 10, 20, 30 pounds or whatever else. So I think that's something. If you're looking to get healthy, right, you're going to look at two main things, which is one, dieting and exercise. Other than that, you need to look at gut health. Gut health is going to be very dependent on your ability to continue to sustain and maintain weight loss. So, again, and 8% of the population is gluten or dairy sensitive. So, I would recommend going to get an allergy test and see what you're allergic to. Where a lot of things that we don't even probably realize that we're allergic. So it's all about, creating inflammation in your body. And that's definitely something, working out hard. I've noticed my shoulders lately have been getting inflamed after I work out, especially when I'm lifting heavy. So that's something I'm trying to work through right now. So I don't know if you're experiencing anything like that. I think it has a lot to do with my posture. I sit a lot, work from home. So I'm always on a laptop, sending emails, on a call, something like that. So I've been working on trying to improve my posture overall. I think that's very important too. So yeah, if you want to learn more about health, and let us know what topics you want us to talk about. I watch a lot of videos, read a lot of articles and stuff. My goal next year is to be in the best shape of my life by May 29th, which is the day I'm getting married. So, I'm going to be doing
Live from Cody's wedding. We are the Bourbon Nerds.
yeah. So we'll do a pod in Mexico. You boys like Mexico?
I like Mexico.
So
I wanted to just bring up, this time of the year is very difficult. Like the last couple of weeks, I personally haven't been in the gym very much. It's very hard because a lot of the gyms will close. I know some of them don't, but it'll close, and then you're like, oh, I'll just go next week, and then Thanksgiving comes, and then next thing you know, Christmas comes, and then New Year's comes. And I think that's where a lot of people come up with like their New Year's resolutions that they want to get in shape, and then they go and they do good, and then all these things just kind of hit all at once. So I don't know. I personally want myself in better shape, but I mostly want just my back healthy, because I used to have herniated discs in my back, which luckily I've worked out enough and gotten in better shape to where they're not an issue anymore. But herniated disc, I would highly recommend not getting if you could help it. But I know a lot of these things get harder the older we get, like you say, that your posture and all that stuff. But all those creaks and stuff could also be just, we're getting old. Like, it's just part of it. It's just part of getting old. It's harder. We're just not going to be in that kind of shape anymore. But, it's just about focusing on the things that, I'm not going to be focusing on the same things that Cody's going to focus on, because my needs are a little different than his needs. So just find some stuff that works with what you want and your goals. Don't try to just watch every YouTuber and try to do what they want to do. Find some exercises that work for you. If you have back issues, I highly recommend working on your core, doing some abs, doing some, squats, things like that. But I everybody kind of has their own thing, and it never hurts to look on YouTube and try to see if, somebody has similar issues to you, and then go with, what they're doing.
Yeah, there's a YouTube guy that I watch. Let me pull him up real quick because I don't want to mess his name up.
I've been messing up names all night. It happens.
This guy's really good though.
I mean, that's a problem. Is if you're just reading someone's name and you've just never heard it, you're just like, oh well, I hope I got that right. I don't know.
Yeah, Athlean X is what he goes by. But I watch his videos, and he actually got. They were talking about him on Joe Rogan podcast. He does an exercise basically for his sets, like if he does chest, like bench press or curls, where he'll do whatever your 10 rep max is, you do that, and then you basically don't rest, or you rest for 30 seconds, and then you see how many you can do reps after that. And then until you get 20, after you do your 10 rep max, you do up to 20. He calls them some kind of reps. I haven't watched the video in a minute, but so basically you want to do 10 of your 10 rep max, and then you're trying to get up to 20. However, then you take 20 to 30 second rest. You don't do any more. Even if you can only do one rep after that, you're going to rest and then do 30 seconds, then boom, do one more until you get 20 after that 10 set rep. So I've done that. It's one of the best chest workouts I've ever had in my life. I'm planning to do that the next chest workout I have. So, and then, you had said back workouts. I highly recommend to be very careful with squats. I hurt my back doing squats. Obviously
Uh,
have a belt.
so my physical therapist said not to go as low, and I actually use the press machine a lot, and I just don't go as low as you would go.
Yeah, press machine's a good idea. That
It's
can
not
help
it's
you
not
keep
about
energy.
going. It's not about how low you can go. It's about just getting a good little workout in. So so with squats, I don't squat fully like you would do in high school or something, but that's just one of the things I do. I do squats. I do core. There's one where you kind of lay back and you thrust your hips up. I know that sounds weird, but it's a machine that's at the gym that it works out your core and your. One of the important things is actually your hips. Your hips aren't really meant to be, worked out or stretched or anything. So like working out and like stretching, doing workouts for your hips actually really helps your back a lot. And that's just not something your body's really supposed to do, but it helps a lot.
Yeah, well, that'll conclude the neat and balance segment. So I love learning and talking about health related stuff. Obviously, I'm going to be challenging myself to get in the best shape of my life. So hopefully, I'll take you guys on that journey with me, and you can learn something. And we'll post some recipes. I'm going to be doing a lot of meal prepping in the upcoming months. So look forward to chatting with you about that. And again, I mentioned we're probably going to look at having Alex Shaw on, who does a whiskey weight loss program, which is really interesting. So look forward to that later down the road.
So I think it's time to do our last call and just kind of wrap up this episode. I think with Christmas coming up, there's a lot of things. We had Thanksgiving, Christmas. There's a lot of things to be thankful for, and honestly, I just kind of wanted to just this year has been pretty good. I can't really complain on how this year's gone. I think Cody got engaged. He's about to get married. Like, there's a lot of really cool things going on with his life.
I got engaged a year ago because we were supposed to get married this year. We pushed it out.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
still,
that's right. My
no,
bad.
but
Yeah,
it's still.
yeah. So it's still in that time frame, I guess, from where
Yeah.
we are. But
Been a good bourbon year.
Yeah, great bourbon year. I have learned a lot of bourbon is not blow your load so early in the year and kind of wait for this end of the year.
That's what she said.
So many things going on. That's what she said.
I had to. Sorry, that was a layup.
He went Michael Scott on me. He was
Yeah.
ready. He was ready for it.
Totally.
I get it. But Christmas actually with Christmas coming up, it kind of brings up something. What are you hoping to get for Christmas? Is there something you asked for or something you're wanting to get?
So I always tell my fiance, don't get me anything. I don't need anything. I actually went to Lowe's today.
What do you really want, Cody? Come on now. Don't be that guy.
So if I was going to get anything for Christmas and someone didn't have to overpay for it, I would want a bottle of William Blue Weller. Absolutely.
Let's be more realistic. What did you ask your fiance for?
I didn't ask her for anything.
So what is she going to get you though? Like she's probably like, oh, well he wants this. Obviously.
Yeah, she'll probably get me some kind of maybe smoked old fashioned kit or something like that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I actually could use the kit to make some old smoked old fashions, getting some pecan and some cherry wood or whatever. So yeah, that's probably what she'll get me, something whiskey related, I'm assuming. And yeah, we needed a new washer, so I just went out and bought a new washer and dryer for Black Friday stuff at Lowe's today. It's gonna be delivered on Tuesday, thank goodness. So, but yeah, I mean that's probably. What about you? What do you want for Christmas?
Glad to pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. No, me and my wife are pretty lame because my wife just asked me like, well, what kind of stuff do you want? And so I'll just send her a list of different things I've been saving up all year for, like saving up on my safari all year. Like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. Mm-hmm. And then she actually just bought 2 purses for Black Friday and was like, oh, she's like, I want purses. I'm like, well, send me what you want. And she's like, no, but I want to pick them out. So then she picks out her own purses for Christmas, which I feel like is kind of lame, but at the same time, I want her to have what she likes,
Yeah.
And I'm sure she'll get me some Funko Pops I've been wanting. I'm a big Funko Pop collector. That's super nerdy. There's some other things that I can't even remember what I sent her, honestly. There's just a bunch of random crap I sent that I've been like, oh, I kind of want that. I kind of want this. So if I could really want one thing, I guess there's this. So I collect Bigfoot Funko Pops, and there's one Bigfoot Funko Pop. There's actually a Chucky one I really want too, but there's a Bigfoot one that's a black light. And there's 4 of them that were released last year. I believe it was San Diego Comic-Con. I could be wrong, but I got 3 of them. And I didn't get the black light because people were asking more for it, but it's actually gone down. But I really want that to complete my set. But there's a Chucky Pop that came out in New York coming on this last year. Chucky is another set of Funko Pops that I had completed until they released that. So I kind of want to complete my sets because my brain will just be like, oh, you really need to buy those to complete your sets. So hopefully I get
like me with Wellers.
Yeah, you with Weller. he collected the Infinity Stones.
Got to catch them all.
Just get ready, guys. He's going to wipe out half the universe here pretty soon.
Hey, Thanos was right.
I mean, I don't disagree with Thanos, but we have different opinions with some people on the human race sometimes. But yeah, anyway, so I don't know. I think I have
one more Christmas gift I'd like.
We'll talk about it then.
Thomas Handy. I really want a Thomas Handy.
He just wants all the B-Tacs. Just any B-Tac.
Oh, I know.
Then next episode he's gonna be like, "Oh, I want Eagle Rare 17."
I do.
So yeah, just Cody wants the B-Tac lineup.
Yes.
Every single one of them. He won't be happy until he gets all of them.
If you can help me get the B-Tac series, I'll invite you on the pod. We can drink it together, and I'll pay for it. So.
Yeah,
MSRP.
Why not buy it for yourself when you could tell somebody else to come and buy it at MSRP?
Yeah, and you can drink it for free.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go to the bar. You can go to my house and drink it with me on the pod. Think about that.
It is pretty crazy, though. I watched a YouTube video the other day, and he was like talking about replacements for Eagle Rare 17, and he mentioned Calumet 16, and I've been wanting a Calumet.
I've
I know
tried
there's
it.
a Specs in Dallas, and I'm
it's yummy. It's yummy.
It'd be worth trying. I don't know. Maybe it is.
Tony at Rose has it. We should go down.
He has a Calumet 16?
Yeah, he has 15 and 16.
Oh, well, let's do that.
There's rumors the newer 15 is better than the 16, but there's only one way to find out. If you want us to try the 15 and 16 on a pod and give you our review of it, let us know.
I think they're both different proofs. I think is the real difference between those two.
Well,
I don't know. They might be. I don't know if they're the same mash bill. I don't know how Calumet does their stuff. I don't know if they make their own stuff. I don't know a whole lot about Calumet, but I need to look a little bit more into Calumet.
Yeah, and they've got quite a bit of new products, a small batch and stuff I've been seeing, Specs they have, and other liquor stores. So
yeah, they have the 10 at the Specs in Sherman. So, but anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys get a chance, we're on X, Instagram, we're on Facebook. Just come and, like us and follow us and, follow us for updates because we want to do some cool stuff coming up. We're probably going to shoot some videos of some upcoming things. So we'll be on YouTube more and TikTok and things like that. But just keep us, let us keep you in the loop with things and hopefully you're enjoying some of the stuff that we have.
Yeah, and I forgot to do this last pod, but I want to give a huge shout out to my shadow brother, Ethan Adams. He's helping edit for us.
Ethan's a man, dude. He did a really good job editing the first
Absolutely, making us
editing
sound
these episodes that we're talking about now.
Yeah, sounding better than what we actually do and helping us get this set up. So we wouldn't be doing this without his help. I mean, honestly, he's been a godsend, so I really appreciate him. Wanted to give him some respect. Good dude, great drummer. If you need a drummer, so yeah, he's a good guy to look.
He's also an A+ Marco's pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, A+. Give him 5 stars.
5 stars,
and he does that just on his free time. So hardworking guy. We wanted to give him some respect and appreciate what he's doing. And we will be sharing our Patreon very soon. I'm working to get that set up.
Hopefully when you're hearing this episode, it might be set up by then.
Yeah, hopefully it will be set up, and I'll put it in the comments so you guys can, if you want to join our Patreon, give us some support. And so we're going to take a look at those 3 episodes we've recorded. This is number 3, Weller Killer, and then go from there. And I've gotten some really interesting feedback. My brother dropped some bombs on me today. So we'll
dropping bombs.
But anyways, I'm Cody.
And I'm Garrett.
And we are the Bourbon Nerds.
Thanks for tuning in.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.